Okay, next I'm going to try heating the metal using this torch, this propane torch here. So let me get that fired up. Torch seems to heat it up really quick, and yeah, that's probably the fastest way to heat that up. That seems to be working really well. I do have a fire extinguisher close by, which I think is a good idea, just anytime you're working with an open flame. Stays hotter a lot longer than it did with the heat gun. Most of it I'm just trying to rough up the surface, but in a few areas I'm going to dig in just a little bit deeper to hopefully get a little better mechanical lock on the sidewalls. And we'll do 2 holes here. So the 2 holes on the sides and through the middle section, and then the single holes through here, are to let the fluid, epoxy or whatever it is, flow and level out, and then also lock into the sidewalls. The rest of it I'll be roughing it up to try and get a good hold inside there, but these holes specifically are meant to be just a little bit deeper and to hold into the sidewall just a little bit better, or a little bit more, I should say. I apologize, this is my first time trying to work through a camera lens, and it's hard. So I'm going to continue with that, roughing up the rest of these areas down in here. On the sides, I'm trying to stay below this height by just a little bit. So I'll probably just come to right in this area here. I'm not going to come all the way up because I think that the epoxy will only come to just below this height here of the centerpiece. So as you can see, I still have some work to do up here in the front. This area back here is pretty much done. Okay. So here I am, almost completed with the melting of the stock. I'm actually finished, I think, with the fore end area. You see I've melted along the edges there. Try and get you a good view down in there. Okay, so the only thing that I have left is I'm going to do a little bit of melting in these areas here around the front action screw hole right here, and then I'll be ready to mix the compound, pour it in, and let it sit and dry. So I'm going to try and video working in this little space here. It's kind of hard because I'm trying to hold the camera with one hand and then melt into the stock with the other, but see if we can make it work. Okay, I'm just finishing up the last one of these voids around the front action screw. And it's kind of hard to video and work at the same time, but just want to kind of show you. I'm not going as deep on the walls of these voids as I did in the front section. I'm considering drilling this out a little bit, drilling this out a little bit and inserting an aluminum pillar. And so I want to leave as much of the pre-existing plastic in there as possible. So I did not go as deep into here from this side or from this side or from either of these two into this area as I did in some of these where I went fairly deep into the sidewalls and then all the way through on this internal skeleton through there and also through all the way through here. So these are shallower burns. It's more or less just texturing so that the stabilizer will stick as well as possible to it, but I wanted to leave as much of the existing structure, or sorry, the pre-existing structure in this area around the front action screw hole as possible. So, all right, I think I'm finished with all of the surface preparation, and I'm now getting ready to mix the stock stabilizing compound and pour it in. Just wanted to give you one last look here how it turned out. Here's the area around the front action screw. Tried to pretty much cover all the areas as well as possible by burning into it. Not leave any areas smooth. Okay, these are the tools that I used. I used this piece of wire that I bent. This is a little thicker. It's actually made from one of these hitch pins that I just picked up over at Walmart. And I used that because it's a little heavier gauge piece of metal. So it allowed me to hold back farther when the end was hot, so I didn't keep burning my fingers, and still be able to apply good pressure, and the metal didn't bend. So as opposed to something like a piece of baling wire, which would be much more flexible. This is a little thicker, so I had a larger surface area on the end for the burn work, and also a more rigid piece of metal so that I can apply a little bit of pressure. These others came in a little pick set that I just picked up at Harbor Freight for like $1.99. I used this one to punch through some of the holes. I don't know if I can get that to focus on there, but basically this is just a little curved hook. Worked well to heat that. This one I actually broke the end off so that it would fit in some of the smaller areas. And this is the tool that I used up here around this front action screw. And I just heated those tools with a torch. I tried a couple other methods with a wood burning pin and a heat gun, but the torch by far worked the best and the fastest. To do the burn prep work on this stock probably took just a little less than 2 hours total. I did it in 2 different settings, but altogether it was about an hour and a half to 2 hours on that. So I'm gonna get set up and get the camera set in a position where you guys can see when I pour the stabilizer in there, and then we'll let it sit. Okay, the stock's been all prepared, and I'm ready to mix the synthetic stock stabilizer and pour it into the internal skeleton of the stock. So get that mixed up here. This is the part A there, and then part B. Okay, they're also marked on top with an S. So let's take a look and see what we've got in here first. Okay, has a little bit of smell to it. For the mixing, I robbed the kitchen of some old utensils. Okay. The instructions say that you have approximately an hour of open time, so I'm going to just take a minute and make sure that I get it stirred up really good. The hardener that I poured in there seemed to be kind of oily and floated on top of the stabilizer compound and is taking just a second to mix in, so I'll just stir it here for a minute and make sure that I get it as mixed up as well as possible.